welcome back, everyone. Um, let's just get right back into this, shall we? I'm aware for you all, this might be like a day or several days apart. I don't know how I'm going to wind up uh, publishing these onto YouTube, but for me, it's just been like 10 minutes. So let's get back into this.
She invited me to come over.
No.
So you were a guest?
No.
Yes, I actually went there because Coco gave me a letter that day to come to the theater near the end of the play.
A
Wait.
letter? Coco didn't mention anything about a letter to Siri. This has got to be another lie.
It's showing an
You
image
still
like
have
of
this
like
letter by your
evidence like
fingertips.
it's physical. Ah.
Not with me, but
Yeah. No. Never mind.
She hesitated, so she probably was lying. Then how do we know that everything you just said was the truth?
I suppose you can't know for certain. But you absolutely cannot see that letter.
Right.
She's
Yeah.
really
Okay.
aggressive about this letter, but I don't have any proof that this letter was there or not. Guess I'll come back to this when the time comes. So, what did you do after you arrived at the theater?
I talked with Coco for a bit, and it was then that I first met Overall Concept.
Hold it! You never met the victim before that point?
No, but I've heard of him. I mean, who hasn't? He earned his fame a few years ago in the same fashion contest I'm participating in. Something I'd like to get back to working on.
Yeah. We know.
That
Shut up.
checks out with what people had said earlier. Did you talk to him at all?
No, he was too consumed by his work. He was busy with a sheet of gorgeous fabric at the time.
I see. And what did you do after your visit with Coco?
After my visit, I left the theater. I had no reason to kill the victim.
Hold it! You did have a reason. You went to steal the fabric.
Even if I did, which I didn't, by the way, I wouldn't have needed to kill Mr. Concept in order to get away with it.
But he was chasing you. You had to get him off your tail somehow.
Okay.
I
This.
would think that hanging some pony would be considered a bit extreme.
Yeah.
If
Plus,
all
I
wanted
do
to
want
do
to
was
point
get him
that
to
out.
stop
That
chasing me. Am I right?
that doesn't make sense. If all she was trying to do was get him to stop chasing her, she bonked him over the head, knocked him out. Why hang him then? Just run.
No motive to kill the victim.
There is no motive there to kill him.
What should I do? I don't have anything that shows a connection between Suri and Overall. And I can't deny the fact that murdering him to get away with a theft is too extreme. Especially since we know that the victim was knocked unconscious
Exactly.
before he died.
Yeah, there would have been no reason
Hey,
to hang him like that.
Twilight, any ideas? Twilight?
Huh? Oh, sorry. What were you asking me?
Suri's motive for killing Overall. As much as I hate to say it, I can't help but think that she wouldn't kill him if she could have made a clean getaway.
Perhaps she didn't have a motive to kill Overall after all then. Perhaps her motive for
Framing
murder is
Coco.
actually related to someone else instead.
Maybe she was trying to frame Coco.
Good thinking, Twilight.
Well, Mr. Wright, do you have an answer?
Your Honor, the defense is willing to concede that the witness did not have a direct motive to kill the victim.
You see, so you finally acknowledge that I'm innocent.
I didn't say that.
Not quite. You didn't have a motive to kill the victim, but you did have a motive to hurt someone else.
Mr. Wright, are you suggesting that there were two victims
Yeah.
that night?
Indeed I am, Your Honor.
Shut up! What nonsense is this? There was only one victim at the theater that night. Overall Concept.
Your Honor, I would like the witness to add that last statement to her testimony.
What?
I'm not sure how this will help, but I guess I'll follow along. Witness, please add that last statement to your testimony.
Ah. There was only one victim at the theater that night. Overall Concept.
Objection!
Only one victim, huh? It seems you've forgotten about someone else who ended up as a victim in this case.
What are you blathering on about, attorney? Overall Concept was the only pony
Yes.
who was killed in the theater that night.
But that doesn't mean he was the only victim.
Quit wasting my time and just say what you want to say, okay?
Very
Yeah.
well. Its true overall concept was the one murdered, but being murdered isn't a requirement in order to become a victim.
I'm just as confused as everyone else. Could you please explain, Mr. Wright?
For example, someone being the victim of assault. And while the victim was assaulted before his death, someone else was also attacked at the scene of the crime. Coco Pommel.
Miss Pommel? You mean with that stain on her mane?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Objection! So what does that prove? It doesn't prove that the witness was the one who caused that mark on her mane.
Objection! While it's not exactly proof that she was the one who attacked Miss Pommel, it would establish her motive for murdering Overall.
Her motive?
Think about it. After Miss Polymer was able to knock Overall down, all she needed to do was run away. As she said herself, she never knew the victim, leaving her no reason to commit murder.
Finally, you understand. I told you I wouldn't want to do something like kill him.
But then somebody else gave you a reason.
What's this now?
What do you mean?
You know who Coco Pommel is, correct?
Is this a joke? I've already mentioned I do.
And what was your past relationship with her again?
Well, I...
Wait.
Before you say anything, I should warn you, both Rarity and Coco are listening, and I'm sure they'd be willing to testify to the truth if the need arises.
Objection! What does Miss Polymer and Miss Pommel's past relationship have to do with any of this?
I'll gladly explain. When I spoke to Miss Pommel and Rarity, they had some very negative things to say about Miss Polymer. In another fashion contest that both Rarity and Suri Polymer had entered, Miss Polymer stole some of Rarity's own special fabric to make dresses with, and took all of the credit. Yet, it wasn't even the witness who made the dresses. Coco made them.
What?
But that's not all. At the end of the contest, she lied to Rarity by saying that she had lost, and made Coco lie to her as well. In response to her dishonesty, Coco quit as Miss Polymer's pupil.
You're saying that this witness has a history of lying and cheating?
You could say that.
So what? Even if I did any of that, how does this have anything to do with this case?
It's actually got everything to do with it.
Really?
Now that we know their history together, let's bring it back to the current incident. Miss Polymer could have just knocked out Overall Concept and left with the special fabric, but a certain former pupil was right behind him.
Yes, that would be Miss Pommel. Oh!
With Coco Pommel in the picture, it changes everything. I think anyone would have some feeling of animosity towards someone who called you out as a liar and a cheat in such a big contest. Am I right? Maybe the feeling was so deep-seated that you would do anything to get back at them. Maybe even frame them for murder.
What?
That was suitably dramatic.
Order! Order! Mr. Wright, explain what you mean at once!
I think that's pretty obvious, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the witness's motive in this case is not actually tied to the victim at all. Her motive was revenge against her former pupil, Coco Pommel.
So why not just kill Coco?
You're saying that the witness killed someone simply to frame another for their death?
Exactly. Here's how I think things played out. Miss Polymer was originally planning on just stealing the fabric and escaping. After she knocked Overall out, she was about to make her exit, but then Coco showed up right behind the victim. After knocking her out too, Miss Polymer realized that she was in the perfect position to get revenge on the pony who had caused her such great humiliation. That's right. She hanged Overall just to get revenge on Coco Pommel.
Suri laughing. Yeah.
Who was that?
It's Suri, I can tell by the voice.
witness.
Shut up! I've had enough of this farce of a trial! Listen to you all! This is what Equestria is depending on as its means of serving justice? This court is an absolute farce!
Now, calm down, witness.
Silence, you senile old fool!
Excuse me? Senile?
Yes, a senile old fool. You're the one who's supposed to be mediating this trial, correct? Then why haven't you put an end to that human lawyer's baseless slandering against me?
Well, he has made some very good...
Shut up! See? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Even though he has no evidence to support his claims, you just let him prattle on anyway. And you...
Me?
You're supposed to be protecting me, are you not?
But you said you wanted to...
Shut up! It's not your job to stand there and complain. It's to prosecute that little traitor over there, okay? So why don't you go and get started by debunking this lawyer's theory?
Well...
Ugh. Do I have to do everything myself? Absolutely worthless. Ugh. Seems as if it's not only every pony for themselves in that big city, it's every pony for themselves no matter where you are.
Witness.
What?
You're saying that my theory is completely false. You didn't kill the victim or frame Miss Palmel for his death.
Of course not.
In that case, I'd like you to testify to the full truth of what you did at the theater that night.
Ugh. Fine. Since neither the judge nor the prosecution will help me, I suppose I have to do this myself.
Very well. Witness, please test it.
Shut up! I know what I need to do. Now sit back and listen so the truth doesn't escape those worn-out ears of yours.
Yes, ma'am.
Seems as if we're finally approaching the end of our little play here. Time to make it.
Are we
or
though?
break it.
We're not even halfway through this. Phoenix.
I met with Coco Palmel after receiving a letter from her. After our meeting, I left the room, only to have Overall start chasing me. I ran up to the catwalk, hoping to outrun him. Suddenly, I heard a thud, and I noticed that Overall was on the ground, and the fabric fell out of his mouth. I saw Coco come from behind, grab the roll of fabric, and hit him over the head. She then took his body, wrapped a noose around his neck, and dropped him from the ledge.
Right.
Coco told me to unwrap the fabric from the roll and leave the building, and I begrudgingly obliged.
You saw Miss Coco murder Mr. Concept?
Yes, I am a witness to the actual crime.
Sure.
Why did you not mention this to me before?
This is
crucial
because it's
information.
bullshit.
Coco told me to keep this a secret. It was her idea after all.
But if this testimony is the truth, then that means you were an accomplice.
It's not as if I wanted to do this. Coco told me to keep quiet about it.
I find that very hard to believe. You honestly think this sudden revelation that Coco somehow forced you to cooperate will convince anyone?
Look, I saw what I saw, and I had to obey because I was afraid I would be her next victim, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She's trying so
Never
hard
trust
to
anyone
blame
who
Coco
says
for all of
okay
this.
that much.
All
Okay.
we gotta do is prove that she didn't do it. I think there's plenty of things she didn't take into account. We just need to show them.
God damn, Twilight's angry. Like, not just angry, angry.
I met with Coco Palmel after receiving a letter from her.
What was the letter about?
What time did you receive this letter?
Or that.
Well, I found it under my door when I got back to my apartment. It was probably around 4 in the afternoon.
That's odd. I thought she was lying about the letter earlier, but she answered rather quickly there. And what time did you go to the theater?
Well, I knew the play started at 7 and lasted about 2 hours long, so I made sure to arrive at the theater around 8:45.
According to the autopsy report, the time of death was between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. This lines up perfectly. What did you do once you were there?
I met up with Coco in the dressing room. She said she just wanted to catch up after not
Yeah,
talking for a
no.
while. She and her friend, Overall Concept, were just finishing up coating a sheet of fabric with fluorescent paint. I even accidentally touched some of the wet paint when I went to feel the fabric. Overall scolded me for doing so.
That mostly lines up with what Coco remembers. Is that a lucky guess, or did she actually visit her? Did you do anything else during your visit?
Nothing much, really. As soon as they were done with coating the fabric in paint, Coco left the room for a moment to wash her hooves.
That
There was
also
really
lines up.
nothing left for me to talk about, so I just made my leave, as I did have to wash my hooves as well. However, I suddenly heard some kind of commotion. After our meeting, I left the room, only to have Overall start chasing me.
Overall started chasing you?
It was so out of nowhere. He was holding a fabric roll in his mouth, and he just had this very angry look on his face. I think you'd freak out too if a stallion like that just started running towards you.
Can you stop trying to turn it around on me? About this fabric roll, was it bare?
No, it had the fabric Coco and he had just finished working on wrapped around it. My best guess is he was rolling up the fabric, and then something disturbed him, so he ran out of the dressing room with it.
The victim rolled up the sheet of fabric while it was still wet. I don't buy it. So, how did you react to the situation?
I ran up to the catwalk, hoping to outrun him.
Couldn't you have just gone straight for the back door?
I could have, but I saw Coco Palmel on the other side of the backstage area, and I didn't want to crash into her, so I went up the catwalk instead.
Saw Miss Palmel?
For a brief moment, yes. She looked very surprised as well.
But wouldn't Playwright have been able to see you going up the catwalk too?
Objection! You should know the answer to that by now, human. Playwright's testimony stated that he didn't see Miss Polomer go up to the catwalk when he saw the chase. In fact, it was you who suggested that she was far ahead enough that Playwright must have missed her.
He's right. It was me who pointed that out. If anything, this at least confirms my suggestion. I just hope the rest of her testimony can line up with my theory. So what did you do when you reached the top?
I was correct in thinking that going up to the catwalk would slow him down.
What do you mean by that, witness?
Suddenly, I heard a thud, and I noticed that Overall was on the ground, and the fabric fell out of his mouth.
He tripped?
Yes, and based on the sound of the clang he made, he must have tripped hard.
Coco and Playwright mentioned something about hearing a clang as well. But would the victim tripping really make such a loud noise?
That's a good question.
Where did the fabric roll after he dropped it?
Nowhere really. It just landed right in front of him.
Did you keep running after he tripped?
I was going to originally, but then I saw something quite unsettling. I saw Coco come from behind, grab the roll of fabric, and hit him over the head.
Objection!
Miss Polomer, that statement contains a glaring issue.
Glaring?
Care to explain, Mr. Wright?
Certainly. The witness claims that she saw Coco take the fabric roll and hit Overall on the head with it.
I fail to see the problem with that statement.
Well, if you recall, Coco's hooves didn't have a trace of paint on them. If the fabric was wet enough to cover Miss Polomer's hooves in paint, then it should have also covered Coco's when she grabbed it.
It's a fairly simple explanation, human.
Is it?
Remember that this paint could have been washed in the rain. Since this witness stated that Miss Pamel gave the fabric to her and left the theater with it, she didn't need to hide the fabric herself, which means she wouldn't have needed to step outside completely, just far enough out that she could get her hooves wet. You see, this was all part of the defendant's
God damn
plan
it.
to
Stop
frame
making
Miss
that face!
Pamela for the crime.
In that case, how do you plan to explain away these other two inconsistencies?
Inconsistencies?
Indeed. They arise from a detail in the autopsy report.
Namely, the areas where the fabric roll touched the victim.
What's wrong with that? The autopsy stated that there was a bruise on the back of the head, and if Miss Pamel came from behind, it would naturally be the area where she would strike him.
It's not what's been left behind on Overall's body that's the problem. It's what wasn't left behind.
Huh? What do you mean?
Have you forgotten already? The fabric had just been coated with
And it
fluorescent
wasn't on
paint,
his mouth.
and it was still wet at the time of the crime. If Overall was really holding it in his mouth, there would have been traces of paint left over in his mouth.
Perhaps the paint was washed away by his saliva then.
Even if that were somehow the case, it wouldn't matter, because there was another spot where the paint couldn't have been washed away.
Couldn't... Ah! No!
If Overall was hit on the back of the head with the wet fabric on the fabric roll, then some of the paint would have been discovered there.
What? What's happening? Someone please enlighten me so that I can be shocked too.
Your Honor, the autopsy report states no other substances or residues were found on the victim's body aside from the glitter on his forehooves. We also know, thanks to the previous testimony, that the special fabric was indeed wrapped around the fabric roll at the time of the murder, and it was most definitely still wet.
Oh!
Based on all this evidence and the testimony presented up to this point, it is impossible for the victim to have been hit on the head with the fabric roll.
What?
Yeah.
Objection!
But again,
Then the only other explanation is the roll must have been empty this whole time. It would explain why there were no stains on him.
Objection!
that makes no sense at all.
Prince Blueblood, that cannot be the case. A torn piece of fabric was found on stage, indicating that the fabric must have gone up the catwalk at some point. And even if we were to ignore that, the witness herself just claimed that the fabric was on the roll when it was brought up.
Then that must mean that the defendant unwrapped the fabric from the roll as soon as she got up there, and then hit Overall with it.
Unless you were a unicorn, unwrapping the roll would have taken far too much time, and Overall would have managed to escape without being attacked. No matter what way you try to interpret it, it is impossible for Coco or anyone else to have used the fabric roll to hit the victim.
We still have not found out what the weapon used to hit him was.
So, what was the fabric roll used for then, Mr. Wright?
It's become apparent that Suri Polomer was the only one who could have brought the fabric up to the catwalk.
And why's
Check
that?
her mouth. Use the
Overall
flashlight. Check her
couldn't
mouth.
have done so without getting paint on himself, and Coco couldn't have done it without being seen by Playwright. So there's only one pony left. Process of elimination. Right, Prince Blueblood? So, Miss Polomer, do you deny that you were the one who carried the fabric roll up the catwalk? There's no one else who could have done it, so you might as well...
So what if I did?
Huh?
Listen here, human. Maybe I did steal the fabric. Maybe I did attack Coco Pommel. But here's the thing. This proves nothing!
What do you mean? Proves nothing.
You're saying that I knocked both the victim and Coco Pommel out with that fabric roll, right? Well, how exactly did I manage to not leave any traces of paint on
I
the victim
didn't say that
myself,
you were...
then, You're claiming that Coco couldn't have hit the victim with the roll because she would have left paint on him. The same reasoning applies to me, does it not?
Well, yeah, but we've already
That
covered
is
that
indeed
something else
true,
had to be
But if
used.
you really did go to the theater to steal the fabric, it's possible that you
But of
might
course
have prepared
there's
a
that-
weapon of your own to fend off anyone that would try to stop you.
There's that
It's
problem.
Possible?
Why attack one with
Well,
one weapon and then
then
another
why
with
don't
a
you go
different
ahead and
weapon?
prove that possibility. I can say for certain that I did not bring a single thing to the theater other than what I have on right now. So go ahead. Prove the existence
What
of
you
this
have
other
on
weapon
right
if you
now.
can.
Well, Mr. Wright,
I guess she
can
could
you
have hit him
prove
with a
the
hoof.
existence of a
Wait,
different
no!
weapon the witness could have used to knock out the victim?
Didn't the thing that we saw at the start that showed the crime happening
How am
show
I
someone getting hit with
supposed
a
to do
hoof?
that? I've got no leads to go off of. It could be anything.
Admit it, you have nothing filthy human.
Oof.
Your Honor,
Yes, Miss Polomere?
I request an escort to take me back to my apartment. And hopefully, we can all put this travesty behind us.
Oof.
I'm afraid you will have to be brought in for questioning before that. You were an accomplice to the defendant, after all. But I'm sure the police can arrange for some form of transportation after that.
Whatever. It's still better than being charged for murder.
No! If I don't think of something now, she's going to get away.
Phoenix!
Twilight, there's nothing. I don't know what she could have used to knock
Hoof!
the victim out.
Calm down. There's gotta be something we've overlooked.
How can I calm down now? The real killer's about to get away.
Phoenix, follow my lead.
What?
Breathe
what was
in.
that?
Breathe out.
It's a breathing exercise my sister-in-law taught me.
Calm down.
She's a princess too, and she taught me this to prepare myself for stressful situations I would have to face as a princess myself.
I see. Wait, your sister-in-law? You have a sibling? And there's another princess?
That's not important right now,
God
Phoenix.
damn it.
Right. Sorry.
Anyway, we need to think.
Every brony's response when they found out about
about
both of them. Just wait, what?
But the only thing she'll admit to having brought with her are the clothes she has on now.
Then let's see if we can use those.
Are you nuts? How could she have knocked someone out with an article of clothing?
We'll think about that later. This is the only lead we have left right now.
Well then, if there are no
She's got a
further
hat
objections,
and her scarf.
I believe it is time we conclude the cross-examination of this witness.
About time, too.
Objection! Your Honor, the defense would like to present evidence at this time.
Evidence?
Yes, evidence that shows exactly what this witness used to attack overall
You don't
concept
have
on the
that
night of the
evidence. You
murder.
just talked about that.
Impossible. You can't possibly have anything.
Mr. Wright, please explain
Like how they
what you
created
mean.
this shut up thing just for this.
Gotta think fast here. No, not just fast, crazy. Miss Polomere must have somehow knocked out Overall with just a piece of clothing. She's not wearing anything else that would be heavy enough to cause such a large bruise on the back of his head, though. So, time to think outside of the box. Instead of figuring out what she used on the victim, we should figure out what she did to him to cause that bruise.
The hard hoof steps from them on the wooden floor were already bad enough.
There you go.
Mixed that with a rattling catwalk and that loud clang. That's
The loud
enough
clang.
to ruin a play as it is.
The loud clang.
On the way up the stairs, I heard a loud clanging noise, and I ran as quickly
Did she
as
just-
I could to see what happened.
Did she just bounce his head off the freaking catwalk or something?
Wait, could it be?
Yeah.
Time's up, Mr. Wright. The witness has made some valid points.
She just bounced his head off the catwalk, didn't she?
Do you have anything to
Well, I mean,
repeat?
obviously that should have been obvious.
I
Like,
do, Your Honor.
I told you before.
No, you didn't. You
I
didn't have
bring
to.
a weapon to the theater.
Oh, I believe you. You didn't bring anything of the sort.
But, Mr. Wright, wasn't your whole theory based on her having another weapon?
It was, and still is.
Explain, human.
What if this other weapon wasn't a conventional?
Meaning?
The defense is of the opinion that we've been going about this the wrong way. Recall that playwright mentioned there was a loud clang during the chase.
At least try and keep up, attorney. That was when the victim tripped. We just established this in Miss Polomere's testimony.
I beg to differ.
Huh?
I think that noise was really the moment when Overall was knocked unconscious.
And how would that be? You admitted that she had no weapon with her. What else could possibly have made that clang? It would have had to have been something metal.
I completely agree. Your Honor, The defense proposes that the witness Suri Polo Mare knocked the victim out using the catwalk itself.
What?
Shut up!
Shut up!
Know yourself, human. How in the world would I have been able to use a catwalk as a weapon?
Simple. All you had to do was throw him against it. If he hit the back of his head against the railing hard enough, I'm sure that would have been able to knock him out cold.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Sure it is.
Impossible, might I add. The witness is a mare of rather petite stature.
She's also an
Are
earth
you
pony.
suggesting that she managed to overpower a fully grown stallion
Who
with
was also
nothing
an earth
but her
pony.
hooves, and then, after doing so, throw him hard enough against the railing to knock him unconscious?
Not quite.
Huh?
You're right that she used the railing to knock him out, but she didn't do so with her bare hooves.
Would this be related to that unconventional weapon you mentioned earlier by any chance?
Exactly, Your Honor. In fact, she kindly brought it into the court for all to see.
What?
Your Honor, this is the weapon Miss Polomare used to overpower the victim. Take that!
You're saying
Scarf?
she used her scarf?
Recall what the witness just said moments ago.
I can say for certain that I did not bring a single thing to the theater other than what I have on right now.
Nothing other than what she has on. Ah!
Oh!
If that's true, then the weapon she used should be clear as day. After making it to the catwalk, she took the scarf off of her neck and waited for the victim to ascend as well. Once he did, she quickly wrapped the scarf around the unsuspecting Overall's neck. The two no doubt struggled as he tried to free himself. But as his strength waned, Miss Polomare managed to knock out Overall by throwing him against the catwalk's railing.
Objection! Are you listening to yourself, human? If she had done that, she would have left marks around the victim's neck.
Marks that I'm sure weren't just seen as having been caused by the rope. Am I right?
Huh? You...
Then, just as Miss Polomare finished
boy.
incapacitating Overall, who should show up but Coco. After coming across a scene like that, she would have been too on guard for the witness to use her scarf again. So instead, she used the fabric roll she had with her to knock Coco out as well.
Shut up! You... What are you even talking about? I did no such thing. Your Honor, please throw this lawyer out of the courtroom now!
I'm sorry, Miss Polomare, but I can't do that.
Why is that?
Mr. Wright's theory may seem far-fetched, but I cannot deny that what he has proposed is indeed a possibility. Prince Blueblood, any thoughts?
Alright. I'm going to pause here. I'm going to end this recording here. We're just under halfway through. I'm wondering how this is going to go. We've got another testimony ahead. But that's going to be the end of it, apparently. So maybe we'll get to the end of this and the next video might be oh wow, I didn't realize this was over 2 hours long as well. Oh well. We're not going to finish this one in the next video. It'll probably be another couple of videos before this gets finished, but yeah, I love this. I love it. I love it. I love things like this. I love mysteries. I love stuff like this. Anyway, I will see you in the next video. I'm not going to do the full outro right now. Whatever my outro is. I need to come up with an outro. I keep saying that, but it's true. I need to do that. I need to come up with an intro, too. Whatever.
Open your eyes, life is all around you. Don't have to be so alone. Take a good look at this world you found and breathe. Now you're finally home.